Word Processing for ICDL by Bahig Helmi. Genre: Computers and Technology. Target Audience: Certification Candidates, Administrative Professionals, Adult Learners.
Chapter 1: Foundations of the Word Processing Environment. Sections. Section 1.1: Navigating the ribbon and workspace with confidence. Section 1.2: Creating, opening, and saving documents correctly. Section 1.3: Managing file types and version compatibility. Section 1.4: Utilizing built-in help and display settings. Opening a word processor for the first time or even the 100th time can feel a bit like stepping into the cockpit of a modern airplane. There are buttons everywhere, unfamiliar icons, and a blinking cursor staring at you from a vast white void. It is natural to feel a moment of hesitation. However, just like a pilot learns that every gauge serves a specific purpose, you will soon see that every tool on your screen is placed there to help you fly. Whether you are preparing for your ICDL certification or simply trying to type a letter without frustration, mastering the environment is your first step toward efficiency. This chapter isn't just about clicking buttons, it is about making the software work for you. We will strip away the confusion of the interface, demystify file formats, and ensure you never lose an hour of work to a computer crash again. Let's build your foundation. 1.1: Navigating the ribbon and workspace with confidence. The core of modern word processing interaction is the ribbon. In older versions of software, we hunted through endless drop-down menus. Today, the ribbon organizes tools logically, spreading them out like a well-organized mechanic's workbench. Think of the ribbon as your toolbox, and the tabs at the top, Home, Insert, Layout, as the different drawers. You wouldn't look for a hammer in the painting drawer. Similarly, you won't look for font settings in the Layout tab. Figure: AI-generated diagram showing the anatomy of the word interface. Callouts highlight the ribbon, the active tab, a group, like font, and the quick access toolbar. The diagram should be clean, high contrast, and labeled clearly. Understanding tabs and groups. Each tab represents a specific phase of your workflow. The Home tab contains the tools you use 90% of the time: fonts, clipboard, and paragraph alignment. It is your daily driver. Inside each tab, you will find groups. For example, on the Home tab, there is a distinct section for font and another for paragraph. This grouping ensures that when you need to change how text looks, all the relevant switches are in one cluster. If you ever find the ribbon taking up too much screen space, you can collapse it. Double-clicking any tab name will hide the tools, giving you more room to write. Double-click again, and your tools return. It is a simple trick, but one that often confuses new users who accidentally hide their interface. The Quick Access Toolbar. Above the ribbon sits a tiny row of icons called the Quick Access Toolbar. This is the single most underrated feature in the word processing environment. By default, it usually holds Save, Undo, and Redo. However, you can customize this. As an experienced user, I recommend adding Print Preview or New Document here. It saves you from navigating backstage menus and keeps your most used commands just one click away. Figure: AI-generated diagram showing a close-up of the Quick Access Toolbar with a drop-down menu open, demonstrating how to check-uncheck commands to add them to the bar. 1.2: Creating, opening, and saving documents correctly. The life of a document has a rhythm: creation, storage, and retrieval. Understanding this cycle is critical for the ICDL exam, but more importantly, it protects your hard work from disappearing into the digital ether. The Backstage View. When you click the File tab, you leave your document and enter the Backstage View. This area isn't for editing text, it's for managing the file itself. This is where you create new files, open existing ones, and handle printing. When creating a new document, you aren't limited to a blank page. The software offers templates, pre-designed resumes, flyers, and reports. For the exam, you will mostly start with a blank document, but in the real world, templates are massive time savers. Save versus save as. This is the most common point of confusion for beginners. Here is the golden rule: save updates the current file, save as creates a new identity. Use Save, or Ctrl+S, constantly. Make it a muscle reflex. Every time you finish a thoughtful paragraph, save. It writes your changes to the hard drive. Use Save as when you want to preserve the original. For example, if you open Invoice January, change the dates, and want to create Invoice February without losing the January record, you must use Save As. This creates a copy and leaves the original untouched. Figure, AI-generated diagram comparing Save and Save As. The Save side shows an arrow looping back to the same file icon. The Save As side shows an arrow pointing to a second, new file icon with a different name. 1.3 Managing file types and version compatibility. Not everyone uses the same software you do. Some colleagues might be using a version from 5 years ago, while others might not use a paid word processor at all. Understanding file extensions is how you ensure your document arrives safely and readably. The standard, .docx. The default file type for modern word processing is .docx. The X at the end stands for XML, which essentially means the file is lighter, less prone to corruption, and more compatible with other apps than the older .doc format. Always default to this unless instructed otherwise. The portable, .pdf. If you are sending a resume or a contract, saving as a PDF is crucial. PDF stands for Portable Document Format. It freezes your formatting. Think of a .docx file as a stack of papers on a desk, anyone can shuffle them. A PDF is like laminating those papers. It ensures that what you see on your screen is exactly what the recipient sees on theirs, regardless of their fonts or printer settings. The universal, .text and .rtf. Sometimes, simple is better. .text, plain text, strips away all bolding, colors, and images, leaving only the characters. .rtf, rich text format, keeps basic formatting but works in almost any text editor, even on different operating systems. You may be asked to save in these formats to demonstrate you understand how to strip formatting data for compatibility. Figure, AI-generated screenshot of the Save As dialog box. The focus is on the Save As type drop-down menu, highlighting .docx, .pdf, and .rtf options. 1.4 Utilizing built-in help and display settings. No one memorize every single function of a word processor. The expert isn't the person who knows everything, the expert is the person who knows how to find the answer quickly. The Tell Me feature. Modern interfaces include a search bar, often labeled Tell Me What You Want to Do. This is your lifeline. Instead of hunting through tabs to find where to insert a picture, you can simply type picture in this box. The software won't just tell you how to do it, it will often offer the actual tool right there in the menu. For ICDL candidates, this is a legitimate way to locate obscure commands during practice. Adjusting your view. Your comfort matters. Working on a document that is too small to read causes eye strain and errors. Use the zoom slider in the bottom right corner of the status bar. Zooming in does not change the font size of the printout, it only acts like a magnifying glass for your screen. Non-printing characters. Finally, we must discuss the skeleton of your document. On the Home tab, there is a symbol that looks like a backward P, paragraph. This is the Show Hide button. Clicking this reveals non-printing characters, dots for spaces, arrows for tabs, and the Pilcrow, paragraph, for paragraph breaks. Many users find this improved view cluttering, but for a professional, it is diagnostic X-ray vision. It tells you if someone used 5 spaces instead of a tab, or if a blank page is caused by accidental enter keystrokes. Learn to toggle this on when formatting behaves badly, it will show you exactly what is wrong. Figure, AI-generated diagram showing a sentence with non-printing characters visible. It labels the small dots as spaces, the arrow as a tab, and the paragraph symbol as a paragraph mark.
Chapter 2, Essential Text Editing Techniques. Sections. Section 2.1, Efficient Methods for Selecting and Editing Content. Section 2.2, Mastering the Clipboard, Cut, Copy, and Paste. Section 2.3, Finding and Replacing Text Across Large Documents. Section 2.4, Inserting Symbols and Special Characters. In the previous chapter, we established the cockpit of our word processing environment. You now know where the tools reside and how to navigate the interface without feeling overwhelmed. Now, it is time to get our hands dirty. If Chapter 1 was about learning to fly, Chapter 2 is about the art of navigation, making precise, intentional movements to get exactly where you need to go. Writing is rarely a linear process where you type a perfect document from start to finish in one breath. Real-world word processing is messy. It involves shuffling paragraphs, correcting mistakes, and refining language until it shines. This phase, the editing phase, is where a document transforms from a rough draft into professional communication. In this chapter, we will move beyond simple typing. We will explore how to manipulate text with speed and precision, ensuring that the software acts as an extension of your thought process rather than a barrier to it. Section 2.1 – Efficient Methods for Selecting and Editing Content. The golden rule of word processing is simple: select, then do. You cannot bold a word, delete a sentence, or move a paragraph until you have told the computer exactly which text you want to manipulate. While you can click and drag your mouse across the screen like a highlighter, there are far more elegant and faster ways to work. Dragging the mouse often leads to overshooting your target or missing the last punctuation mark. Instead, let's look at the hidden click zones and keyboard shortcuts that professionals use. These techniques significantly reduce wrist strain and editing time. The power of the click. The mouse is more versatile than most realize. Depending on how many times you click and where you position the cursor, you can select varying amounts of text instantly. Double-click selects a single word. Triple-click selects an entire paragraph. Control+click selects an entire sentence, from capital letter to punctuation. Figure, a diagram showing a document page. An oversized cursor is clicking once in the left margin to select a line, and another cursor is triple-clicking inside a paragraph to highlight the whole block. Arrows indicate the action. The invisible selection bar. There is a hidden tool in your document, the left margin. When you move your mouse pointer to the white space to the left of your text, the cursor changes from an I-beam to an arrow pointing exclusively to the right. This is the selection bar. Clicking once here selects the entire line of text next to it. Clicking twice selects the paragraph. Clicking 3 times selects the entire document. Learning to use this margin prevents the frustration of trying to highlight a specific line by dragging horizontally. Keyboard precision. For those preparing for certification, relying solely on the mouse can be slow. The keyboard offers surgical precision. Holding the Shift key is the trigger for selection. If you hold Shift and tap the right arrow, you select one character at a time. If you hold Ctrl+Shift and tap the right arrow, you select whole words. This allows you to highlight exactly what you need without your hands leaving the keyboard, maintaining your flow of thought. Section 2.2 – Mastering the clipboard, cut, copy, and paste. Imagine your document is a physical collage. To rearrange it, you would need scissors and glue. In word processing, the clipboard is your temporary holding dock, a virtual backpack where you store items while moving them from one place to another. Understanding the difference between cut and copy is fundamental. Copy creates a duplicate, leaving the original in place, like a photocopier. Cut removes the original to move it elsewhere, like scissors. The paste paradox. The act of pasting content is where formatting nightmares often begin. Have you ever copied text from a website and pasted it into your clean document, only to find it brought along a strange blue font and a gray background? This happens because you pasted the format along with the content. Modern word processors offer paste options to give you control over this. Figure, a close-up screenshot of the paste options menu appearing after a paste action. 3 icons are highlighted: a clipboard with a paintbrush, keep source formatting, a clipboard with an arrow, merge formatting, and a clipboard with the letter A, keep text only, dot. Keep source formatting keeps the look of the original, good for moving text within the same document. Merge formatting adopts the font and size of the paragraph you are pasting into, usually the best choice. Keep text only strips all formatting, leaving just the raw words. By default, using Ctrl+V usually keeps source formatting. As an administrative professional, learning to right-click and choose Merge Formatting or Keep Text Only will save you hours of reformatting time. Section 2.3 Finding and replacing text across large documents. Picture this scenario: you have just finished a 50-page report on a Project Alpha. Just as you are about to print, your manager walks in and says, "We've renamed it to Project Beta." Reading through 50 pages to change every instance manually is not just tedious, it is prone to human error. You will miss one. The Find and Replace tool is your automated search party. It scans the binary code of the document to find every occurrence of a specific string of characters. The search. Pressing Ctrl+F opens the navigation pane. Here, you type what you are looking for, and the software highlights every instance in the document. This is excellent for quickly locating a specific section or checking if you overused a specific word. The Replace. The Replace function, often Ctrl+H, takes this a step further. It allows you to swap text A for text B instantly. However, this tool requires a cautious hand. Figure the Find and Replace dialog box. The Find What field contains the word cat, and the Replace With field contains dog. The More button is expanded to show options like a match case and find whole words only. The danger of Replace All. The Replace All button is powerful, but it lacks nuance. If you ask the computer to replace he with she, it will do exactly that, but it might also turn the word the into she wore then into chen. To avoid this disaster, use the Find Whole Words Only option in the expanded settings. This tells the software to ignore the search term if it is part of a larger word. Always remember, the computer does exactly what you tell it to do, not necessarily what you want it to do. Section 2.4 Inserting Symbols and Special Characters. Standard keyboards are limited. They display the alphabet, numbers, and basic punctuation. But professional documents often require more: the copyright symbol, the degree sign, degree, currency symbols like the euro, or mathematical operators. These are known as symbols and special characters. They are the spices in your writing, used sparingly, but essential for professional flavor and accuracy. Accessing the library. You will usually find these under the Insert tab. Clicking symbol reveals a grid of characters that don't exist on your physical keys. For ICDL candidates, it is important to know that common symbols often have shortcuts. For example, typing C often automatically autocorrects to copyright symbol. However, for obscure symbols, you will need to use the symbol dialog box. Figure the symbol dialog box showing a grid of various characters including Greek letters, mathematical operators, and currency signs. The Insert button is highlighted at the bottom. Non-breaking spaces. One specific invisible character deserves special mention: the non-breaking space. Have you ever seen a date where the 20 is at the end of one line and 20th jumps to the next? It looks disjointed. By inserting a non-breaking space, often Ctrl+Shift+Space, between words, you glue them together. The software treats them as a single block, ensuring they always stay on the same line. This is a subtle detail that separates a novice typist from a polished document creator. In this chapter, we have moved from simply looking at the screen to actively commanding the text. You have learned to select with precision, move text without losing formatting, search vast documents instantly, and insert characters that aren't on your keyboard. These techniques are the brushstrokes of digital editing. Practice them until they become muscle memory. When you no longer have to think about how to select a sentence, you can focus entirely on what that sentence says.
Chapter 3: Mastering Character Formatting. Sections. Section 3.1: Choosing the right fonts and sizes for readability. Section 3.2: Applying bold, italic, and underline styles effectively. Section 3.3: Using colors and highlighting for visual emphasis. Section 3.4: Replicating styles quickly with the Format Painter. You have successfully navigated the interface in Chapter 1 and learned how to wrangle your words into better shape in Chapter 2. Now, we arrive at one of the most satisfying stages of document creation: formatting. If editing is about what you say, formatting is entirely about how you look while saying it. Think of your document like a professional job interview. The text you typed in the previous chapter is your resume, your skills and experience. Character formatting is the suit you wear, the handshake you offer, and the eye contact you make. It determines whether your reader feels welcomed and engaged or overwhelmed and confused. In this chapter, we move beyond simple typing. We will focus on the character, individual letters and words to ensure your message isn't just readable, but impactful. We will explore how to dress your words for the occasion, ensuring that your documents look as professional as the ideas contained within them. Section 3.1. Choosing the right fonts and sizes for readability. The font you choose sets the subconscious tone of your entire document before the reader finishes the first sentence. I often see beginners choose fonts because they look fun or fancy, but in a professional context, clarity is king. Your primary goal is readability, your secondary goal is style. Understanding font families. Computer fonts generally fall into two main buckets: serif and sans serif. Serif fonts, like Times New Roman or Garamond, have small decorative strokes or feet at the ends of the character lines. These are traditional, formal, and excellent for long blocks of printed text because the feet guide the eye along the line. Sans serif fonts, like Arial, Calibri, or Helvetica, lack these strokes. They appear modern, clean, and minimalist. These are generally easier to read on digital screens and are perfect for headings or short, punchy documents. Figure: AI-generated diagram comparing a serif letter T next to a sans serif letter T. The serif T has red circles highlighting the decorative feet strokes, while the sans serif T is clean and blocky. Labels clearly indicate serif, traditional, and sans serif, modern. Selecting the correct size. Font size is measured in points. For standard business documents, a size between 10 and 12 points is the industry standard. Anything smaller requires a magnifying glass, anything larger feels like a children's book, unless it is a heading. To change your font and size. Select the text you wish to change. Remember your selection techniques from Chapter 2. Navigate to the Home tab on the ribbon. Click the arrow next to the font box to choose a style. Click the arrow next to the font size box to adjust the scale. Pro tip: if you hover your mouse over a font name in the list without clicking, your document will briefly show you a preview. This lets you try on the font before you commit to it. Section 3.2. Applying bold, italic, and underline styles effectively. If the font is your outfit, then bold, italic, and underline are your vocal inflections. They change the sound of the words in the reader's mind. However, just like in conversation, if you shout everything, nothing stands out. The power of bold. Bold text is heavy and demands attention. It represents volume. Use bold for headings, key terms, or sentences that summarize a paragraph. It stops the scanning eye and says, "Look here." The nuance of italics. Italics provide emphasis without the heaviness of bold. It is the equivalent of leaning in to whisper a secret or stressing a specific word in a sentence. Use italics for book titles, foreign phrases, or to provide subtle stress on a specific concept. The danger of underline. Underline is a holdover from the typewriter era when we didn't have bold or italics. Today, underlining usually signals one thing to a modern user: a hyperlink. If you underline text that isn't a link, you risk frustrating readers who try to click on it. Unless a specific style guide requires it, try to avoid underlining for emphasis. Stick to bold or italics instead. Figure: AI-generated screenshot of the Home tab ribbon focusing on the font group. The B, I, and U buttons are highlighted with glowing outlines. Below the ribbon, 3 sentences demonstrate the styles: 1 bold, 1 italic, and 1 underlined. To apply these styles: 1. Select your text. 2. Click the B, I, or U icons in the Home tab. 3. Alternatively, Use the keyboard shortcuts, Ctrl+B, Ctrl+I, or Ctrl+U. Section 3.3, Using colors and highlighting for visual emphasis. We live in a colorful world, and modern printers and screens handle color beautifully. Adding color can categorize information, reinforce branding, or draw attention to warnings. However, restraint is your best friend here. A document that looks like a fruit salad using 5 different text colors looks unprofessional and is physically difficult to read. Changing font color. Standard business text should provide high contrast. Black or dark gray on white paper is the standard for a reason. When using color for headings or emphasis, stick to a limited palette, perhaps a navy blue or a deep red that aligns with your company logo. To change font color, 1. Select the text. 2. Look for the icon with the letter A and a colored bar underneath it on the Home tab. 3. Click the small arrow next to it to see the palette. Using the highlighter. The text highlight color tool works exactly like the neon marker pen sitting on your desk. It places a bright background behind the text. This is incredibly useful during the draft and review phase, marking areas that need fact-checking or attention. However, be cautious about leaving highlighting in a final distributed document unless you are specifically drawing attention to a change. Figure, AI-generated illustration showing a document with a color palette drop-down menu open. The mouse cursor is hovering over a standard dark blue. On the document page, a paragraph has one sentence highlighted in bright yellow to demonstrate the highlight tool. Author's reflection: I once received a resume where every paragraph was a different color. The candidate wanted to show creativity, but I couldn't focus on their skills because my eyes were too busy adjusting to the rainbow. Use color to guide the reader, not to distract them. Section 3.4, Replicating styles quickly with the Format Painter. This is the secret weapon of efficient word processing. The Format Painter is essentially a style cloning tool. Imagine you have spent 5 minutes setting up a perfect subheading. You chose Arial, 14 points, bold, and dark blue. Now, you have 10 other subheadings in your document. You could manually apply those 4 changes 10 times, or you could use the Format Painter. How to use the Format Painter? Click on the text that already has the look you want, the source. Click the Format Painter icon, it looks like a paintbrush, on the Home tab. Your cursor changes to a paintbrush icon. Click and drag over the new text you want to change. As soon as you release the mouse, the new text instantly adopts the font, size, color, and emphasis of the original. The double-click trick. If you click the Format Painter button once, it turns off after you paint one selection. However, if you double-click the Format Painter button, it stays active. You can scroll through your whole document, painting that style onto multiple different text blocks one after another. Press Escape on your keyboard to turn it off when you are done. Figure, AI-generated flowchart visualization. Step 1 shows source text with bold blue styling. An arrow points to the Format Painter icon. The next arrow points to target text, which is plain. The final step shows target text transforming to match the source text styling. Mastering these character formatting tools is the bridge between a rough draft and a polished, professional document. When you treat formatting as a communication tool rather than just decoration, your documents become easier to read and harder to ignore. In the next chapter, we will zoom out from individual characters and look at how to structure entire paragraphs and lists.
Chapter 4, Paragraph Structure and Flow. Sections. Section 4.1, Aligning Text for Professional Presentation. Section 4.2, Controlling Indentation and Setting tab stops. Section 4.3, Optimizing line and paragraph spacing. Section 4.4, Adding definition with borders and shading. We have spent the last chapter dressing up your words, ensuring your characters look professional and polished. But even the most beautifully formatted font can get lost if it is buried in a dense, impenetrable wall of text. If Chapter 3 was about the furniture in the room, Chapter 4 is about the floor plan, arranging that furniture so people can actually walk through without tripping. A document needs to breathe. When a reader opens a page and sees tightly packed lines stretching from edge to edge, their brain instinctively feels tired before they have read a single word. Your job is to create visual rhythm, guiding the reader's eye effortlessly from one thought to the next. In this chapter, we move from the micro level of characters to the macro level of paragraphs. We will learn to align text for impact, use invisible grids to organize data, and manipulate white space to create a professional layout. By the end of this section, your documents will not just look good, they will feel good to read. For point 1, aligning text for professional presentation. Alignment controls how the edges of your text sit relative to the margins. While it might seem like a minor aesthetic choice, alignment dictates the formality and readability of your document. It creates the lines that the eye follows down the page. Most Western reading habits favor left alignment. This creates a straight edge on the left and a ragged edge on the right. It is the easiest format for the eye to track because the spacing between words remains consistent. For 90% of your business correspondence and reports, this is exactly where you want to be. Figure, AI-generated diagram showing for text blocks side by side. The first is left-aligned, jagged right, the second is centered, jagged both sides, the third is right-aligned, jagged left, and the fourth is justified, straight edges on both sides. Labels clearly indicate the alignment type. Center alignment screams formality. It is perfect for titles, invitations, or short announcements, but it is terrible for long paragraphs. Because both edges are ragged, the reader's eye has to work harder to find the start of the next line. Use it like a spice, sparingly and only for effect. Right alignment is often used for headers, footers, or dates in a letter, while justified alignment forces text to stretch from the left margin to the right margin. Justified text looks like a newspaper column or a published book. However, be careful, if your lines are too short, the software will stretch the spaces between words, creating awkward rivers of white space that distract the reader. For point 2, controlling indentation and setting tab stops. One of the most common mistakes in word processing is using the spacebar to position text. If you have ever hit the spacebar 5 times to start a paragraph, or 20 times to line up a column, let's make a pact right now, we are leaving that habit behind. The spacebar is variable, indentation and tabs are precise. Indentation moves the edge of the paragraph away from the margin. A first line indent pushes only the top line inward, signaling the start of a new narrative thought. Conversely, a hanging indent leaves the first line at the margin and pushes everything else in. You see this frequently in numbered lists and bibliographies. The power of the tab key. Think of tab stops as invisible anchors on your ruler. When you press the tab key, your cursor doesn't just jump a random distance, it jumps to a specific mathematical point. This allows you to create perfectly aligned columns of text without using a table. Figure, AI-generated diagram close-up of the word ruler bar. It highlights the L-shaped left tab icon, the inverted T-center tab icon, and the hanging indent markers. Arrows point from the ruler markers down to a text list that is perfectly aligned beneath them. There are different types of tabs to suit your data. A left tab aligns text to the left of the stop, while a decimal tab is magic for financial figures. It forces all the decimal points to line up vertically, regardless of how many digits are in the number. Mastering tabs is what separates a novice typist from a document pro. For point 3, optimizing line and paragraph spacing. White space is not empty space, it is an active design element. Line spacing, often called leading, refers to the vertical gap between lines within the same paragraph. If lines are too close, the text looks dark and cramped. If they are too far apart, the lines feel disconnected. Standard single spacing is efficient, but increasing it to 1.15 or 1.5 often makes documents significantly easier to digest. Paragraph spacing is different, it controls the gap between distinct paragraphs. A classic typewriter habit is to hit enter twice to create a gap between paragraphs. In professional word processing, we use that space after or space before settings instead. Why does this distinction matter? If you use enter to create space, you are inserting an empty paragraph. If you later resize your font or move text, those empty paragraphs can end up at the top of a page, creating awkward gaps. Using paragraph spacing ensures the gap is attached to the text block itself, maintaining consistent flow regardless of editing changes. Figure: AI-generated diagram comparing two documents. The left document has cramped text with no spacing between paragraphs, wall of text. The right document uses 1.15 line spacing and 12 points space after a paragraph spacing, showing clear, breathable distinct blocks of text. For adding definition with borders and shading. Sometimes, you need a paragraph to shout, "Look at me!" This is where borders and shading come into play. These tools allow you to draw a box around a paragraph or apply a background color to highlight critical information, such as a warning note or a key takeaway. Borders can be applied to any side of the paragraph. A bottom border is excellent for separating a heading from the text below it, while a full box border creates a containment field for distinct data. You can customize the line style, solid, dashed, or double, and adjust the thickness to match the tone of your document. Shading fills the background behind the text. When using shading, contrast is your priority. If you use a dark background color, you must change your font color to white or a light pastel. If the text is hard to read against the shading, the formatting has failed its primary purpose. Pro tip: when applying a border to a paragraph, adjust the padding or distance from text options. This adds a little breathing room between the words and the border line, preventing the text from looking crowded inside its box. By combining these tools, alignment for structure, indentation for hierarchy, spacing for readability, and borders for emphasis, you gain total control over the page. You are no longer just typing, you are engineering the reader's experience.
Chapter 5: Organizing Data with Tables and Lists. Sections. Section 5.1: Creating and customizing bulleted and numbered lists. Section 5.2: Constructing tables to display structured information. Section 5.3: Modifying rows, columns, and cell dimensions. Section 5.4: Applying table styles and borders for clarity. In Chapter 4, we discussed the floor plan of your document, arranging paragraphs so your reader can navigate the text smoothly. But sometimes, standard paragraphs simply aren't the right tool for the job. There are moments when you need to categorize items, present statistics, or outline step-by-step instructions. Trying to force this kind of structured data into a regular sentence is like trying to organize a silverware drawer by throwing everything into a single pile. It might all be there, but finding what you need requires unnecessary effort. To be efficient, you need dividers and compartments. In word processing, our dividers and compartments are lists and tables. These tools break the visual monotony of a page and allow the human eye to scan for information quickly. In this chapter, we will master the art of organizing chaos, transforming clunky blocks of text into clean, accessible data. 5.1: Creating and customizing bulleted and numbered lists. The simplest way to organize information is a list. However, knowing when to use bullets versus when to use numbers is a subtle distinction that affects how your reader interprets the data. Think of a recipe. The ingredients list uses bullets because the order doesn't matter. You can buy the flour before the eggs, and the result is the same. The cooking instructions, however, use numbers because sequence is critical. If you bake the cake before you mix the batter, you have a problem. Applying standard lists. To create a list, you generally start by selecting existing text or placing your cursor where you want the list to begin. On the Home tab of the ribbon, you will find the paragraph group, which houses your list controls. Figure: a close-up screenshot of the ribbon's paragraph group, highlighting the bullet button, numbering button, and multi-level list button with clear labels indicating which is which. Clicking the bullets button adds a simple dot next to each paragraph. Clicking numbering adds a sequential number, 1, 2, 3, or letter A, B, C. If you add or remove an item in a numbered list, the software automatically recalculates the sequence for you, saving you from manually retyping every number. Customizing list appearance. Sometimes the default black dot or simple one isn't distinct enough for your design. You can change the bullet character to a checkmark, an arrow, or even a custom symbol to draw more attention to the items. To do this, click the small arrow drop-down menu next to the bullet or numbering icon. This reveals the bullet library or numbering library. From here, you can select a different style or choose Define New Bullet to select a symbol from the system's character map. Figure the Define New Bullet dialog box open, showing a user selecting a distinct arrow symbol from the Wingdings font options. When customizing, remember that less is often more. A complex graphical bullet might look fun, but if it distracts from the text, it fails its purpose. Stick to simple, high-contrast symbols for professional documents. 5.2 Constructing tables to display structured information. Lists are excellent for one-dimensional data, but what happens when you need to compare items? For example, an inventory list showing product names, prices, and quantities. If you try to do this with spaces or tabs, your alignment will break the moment you change a font size. The solution is a table. A table consists of rows, horizontal, and columns, vertical, that intersect to form cells. Think of it as a mini spreadsheet embedded right inside your document. Inserting a table. The most visual way to insert a table is via the Insert tab. Click the Table button, and you will see a grid appear. As you hover your mouse over this grid, the document previews the table size, e.g., 3 columns by 4 rows. Figure a screenshot showing the Insert tab with the table drop-down menu expanded. The mouse cursor is hovering over a 4x3 grid, and the corresponding table is previewed on the document page below. Click once to confirm the selection, and the table is inserted into your document. The cursor will blink in the first cell, waiting for you to type. You can move between cells by pressing the Tab key on your keyboard, a much faster method than clicking each cell with your mouse. Entering data correctly. A common mistake beginners make is pressing Enter to move to the next cell. Pressing Enter inside a table usually creates a new line within the same cell, making the row taller. To maintain a clean structure, use the Tab key to move forward and Shift plus Tab to move backward. If you are in the very last cell of the table and press Tab, the software will automatically create a brand new row for you. This feature allows you to keep typing data without stopping to format. 5.3 Modifying rows, columns, and cell dimensions. Rarely does the default table structure fit your content perfectly from the start. You might type a long sentence in one column that wraps awkwardly, while another column containing only 2-digit numbers has too much empty space. Structuring a table is like tailoring a suit. You need to take it in or let it out to fit the body of your data. Adjusting dimensions manually. You can resize rows and columns by hovering your mouse pointer over the border lines of the table. The cursor will change into a double-headed arrow. Click and drag the border to the desired width or height. However, dragging borders manually can sometimes lead to uneven spacing. For precision, looking at the ruler, discussed in Chapter 1, can help you align column widths to specific measurements on the page. Using AutoFit. For a faster fix, use the AutoFit feature. When you click inside your table, distinct Table Tools tabs, often labeled Layout and Design, appear on the ribbon. In the Layout tab, look for the AutoFit button. AutoFit Contents shrinks or expands the columns to fit the text exactly. AutoFit Window stretches the table to fill the width of the page margins. Distribute rows columns. This is a lifesaver when your table looks messy. It forces multiple selected rows or columns to be exactly the same size, instantly restoring symmetry. 5.4 Applying table styles and borders for clarity. A table with simple black grid lines is functional, but it isn't always easy to read. If a table contains 50 rows of data, the reader's eye can easily slip from one line to the next. This is where formatting aids readability. Using table styles. Word processors come equipped with a gallery of pre-designed table styles. These styles automatically apply shading to the header row, so column titles stand out, and apply banded rows where every other row is shaded a light color. Figure, the Table Design tab on the ribbon, with the Table Styles gallery expanded to show various color schemes, blue, orange, gray, and formatting options. Banded rows act like a visual ruler, guiding the eye straight across the page. To apply a style, click anywhere inside your table, go to the Table Design tab, and select a thumbnail from the gallery. It transforms a plain grid into a professional graphic in a single click. Customizing borders. Sometimes you don't want a visible grid at all. You might use a table simply to align text side by side, like a resume header, and want the borders to be invisible. In the Table Design tab, the Borders drop-down allows you to turn specific lines on or off. You can remove all borders for a clean look, or thicken the outside border for emphasis. Remember, the goal of formatting a table is not decoration, it is communication. Avoid dark background colors that make text hard to read. Stick to subtle shading and clear borders to ensure your data speaks for itself.
Chapter 6, Page Layout and Document Design. Sections. Section 6.1, Configuring Margins, Orientation, and Paper Size. Section 6.2, Understanding the difference between page and section breaks. Section 6.3, Implementing professional headers and footers. Section 6.4, Managing page numbering and document watermarks. We have traveled a significant distance together. You have mastered the interface, refined your editing skills, polished your fonts, and organized your data into tidy tables. Your document now has excellent content and structure. However, up until now, we have been working largely within the boundaries of the default page settings. Think of your document like a beautifully painted canvas. In previous chapters, we focused on the brushstrokes, the words, paragraphs, and lists. Now, it is time to build the frame. The best painting in the world will look awkward if it is crammed into a frame that is too small or hung crookedly on the wall. Page layout is the invisible structure that holds everything together. It dictates how your document sits physically on the paper or screen. In this chapter, we will tackle the global settings that give your work a professional finish, ensuring that your document is not just readable, but aesthetically balanced. 6.1 Configuring Margins, Orientation, and Paper Size. When you open a new document, the word processor makes several assumptions about what you want. It assumes you are writing on standard-sized paper and that you want to write vertically, portrait mode. While these defaults work for a simple letter, they often fail when you are designing a newsletter, a flyer, or a report with wide data tables. Margins are not simply blank space, they are the breathing room for your content. Narrow margins might save paper, but they create a dense, claustrophobic reading experience. Conversely, margins that are too wide can make a document feel disjointed. Finding the balance is key to professional design. Adjusting margins. To change the white space surrounding your text, you must access the Layout tab. This is your command center for the physical properties of the document. Navigate to the Layout tab on the ribbon. Click the Margins button. Select a preset, such as normal or narrow, or choose custom margins to enter specific measurements required by your organization or ICDL exam prompts. Orientation and paper size. Orientation refers to the direction of the page, portrait, tall, or landscape, wide. Most business documents are portrait, but landscape is essential when presenting complex tables that require horizontal space. Similarly, paper size is critical, especially in a global context. The ICDL syllabus often tests your ability to switch between letter size, standard in North America, and A4 standard internationally. Sending a document formatted for A4 to a printer loaded with letter paper can result in cut-off text or awkward scaling. Step by step, changing orientation and size. On the Layout tab, click Orientation and select Portrait or Landscape. Click Size and select the appropriate paper format, e.g., A4, letter, legal. Pro tip: never use the spacebar or tab key to center text or force a line break just because the margins look wrong. Adjust the margins first. This keeps your text fluid and editable. 6.2 Understanding the difference between page and section breaks. This section covers perhaps the most misunderstood concept in word processing. If you only take one technical skill away from this chapter, let it be the difference between a page break and a section break. Novice users often hit the Enter key repeatedly to force text onto the next page. This is a fragile method. If you add one sentence earlier in the document, your manual spacing shifts and your layout breaks. The correct way to move text to a new page is a manual page break, Ctrl+Enter. However, a page break only pushes text, it does not change the formatting rules. What if you want page 1 to be portrait, but page 2 to be landscape for a large chart? A simple page break won't work because the whole document shares the same rules. The power of section breaks. A section break effectively splits your document into separate mini-documents, allowing you to apply different formatting rules to each part. Page break and start typing on the next piece of paper. Section break, next page, start a new piece of paper and let me change the rules, margins, orientation, headers, for this new part. Figure, AI-generated diagram comparing two documents. Left side shows a standard page break where both pages are vertical. Right side shows a section break where the first page is vertical, portrait, and the second page is horizontal, landscape, with a visual divider icon labeled section break between them. Implementing a section break. To mix layouts within a single document. Place your cursor where the change needs to happen. Go to the Layout tab and click Breaks. Under Section Breaks, choose Next Page. Once on the new page, change the orientation to landscape. You will notice the previous page remains portrait. This technique is a staple of intermediate word processing and a frequent requirement in certification exams. It grants you the control to create complex, professional reports without creating separate files for different page types. 6.3 Implementing professional headers and footers. Headers and footers are the areas in the top and bottom margins of each page. They exist outside the main flow of your text, acting like a scaffold that provides context. They typically contain information that needs to be repeated on every page, such as the document title, company logo, or date. Think of headers and footers as the branding of your document. They assure the reader that the loose page they are holding belongs to the specific report they are reading. Accessing the header-footer workspace. You generally cannot click into the header area directly while typing your main text. It is a separate layer. Double-click the very top or very bottom of the page, in the white margin area. The main text will fade to gray, and the Header and Footer Tools tab will appear on the ribbon. Type your information or insert a field, like a date. Double-click back in the center of the page to return to normal editing. Figure, AI-generated screenshot showing the header and footer are workspace active. The main document text is dimmed grayed out. The ribbon displays specific tools like page number, date and time, and document info. Using fields for dynamic information. In a professional setting, you rarely want to type a date manually in a header because you might forget to update it. Instead, use fields. On the Header and Footer tab, look for options like date and time or document info. These insert placeholders that update automatically. If you insert a file name field, the header will automatically change if you rename the file later. This automation prevents embarrassing errors in draft management. 6. For managing page numbering and document watermarks. Imagine reading a 50-page contract that you dropped on the floor. If the pages aren't numbered, putting them back in order is a nightmare. Page numbering is not optional for long documents, it is a courtesy to your reader. Inserting page numbers. Never type 1 at the bottom of the first page and 2 on the second. If you edit the text, those numbers will move around and become part of the paragraphs. You must use the automated tool. Go to the Insert tab or the Header and Footer tab. Click Page Number. Choose a position, top or bottom, and a style. Advanced numbering and section breaks. Remember the section breaks from section 6.2. They interact with page numbers too. You can tell a new section to restart numbering at 1. This is common in books where the table of contents uses Roman numerals I, 2, 3, and chapter 1 starts over with standard numbers 1, 2, 3. To do this, you would click Page Number, Format Page Numbers and select Start at 1 within the new section. Using watermarks. Finally, we look at watermarks. A watermark is a faint text or image that sits behind your text, usually to indicate the status of the document. Common examples include draft, confidential, or sample. Figure: AI-generated visual of a document page with the word confidential stamped diagonally across the center in faint gray text. The main paragraph text is legible over the top of the watermark. To add one, go to the Design tab, sometimes located in Layout depending on your software version. 2. Select Watermark. 3. Choose a preset or select Custom Watermark to upload a company logo. Watermarks provide immediate visual context. A reader knows instantly to treat a document with caution if confidential is stamped across the background. Reflection. By the end of this chapter, your document has graduated from a simple text file to a professionally designed publication. You now understand that the white space, the margins, and the page numbers are just as important as the words themselves. We have built the frame and hung the canvas. In the next chapter, we will look at how to verify the quality of your work using proofing tools and finalizing the document for distribution. You are now controlling the page, rather than letting the page control you.
Chapter 7. Enhancing Documents with Visual Objects. Sections. Section 7.1. Inserting and resizing images and illustrations. Section 7.2. Drawing and modifying shapes and smart art. Section 7.3. Controlling text wrapping and object positioning. Section 7.4. Grouping, layering, and aligning graphical elements. We have built a strong foundation in the previous 6 chapters. You have mastered the interface, refined your text, organized data into tables, and structured your pages with professional layouts. Yet, looking at a document composed entirely of text, no matter how beautifully formatted, can still feel a bit like staring at a brick wall. The human brain processes visual information 60,000 times faster than text. While words are essential for detail, images provide immediate context and impact. A well-placed chart, a relevant photo, or a clean diagram can turn a dry report into an engaging narrative. In this chapter, we step away from the keyboard and pick up the designer's toolkit. We will explore how to integrate visual objects without breaking your document's structure. Many users fear adding images because they worry about text jumping around unpredictably. By the end of this chapter, you will understand exactly why that happens and how to control it with precision. 7.1 Inserting and resizing images and illustrations. The first step in visual design is simply getting the asset onto the page. Word distinguishes between 2 main types of graphical content: raster images, like photos you take with a camera, and illustrations, like icons or clip art. To insert an image, navigate to the Insert tab. You will see options for pictures, where you can choose a file from your device, or online pictures, which allows you to search for royalty-free stock images directly within the application. Once you select your file and click Insert, the image appears at your cursor's location. Figure, a screenshot of the Insert tab highlighting the Illustrations group, showing buttons for pictures, shapes, icons, and smart art. Maintaining proportions. When you click on an image, you will notice small circles around its perimeter. These are sizing handles. A common mistake is dragging a handle from the middle of the top or side borders. Doing so squishes the image, making people look like cardboard cutouts or stretching objects unnaturally. To resize professionally, always drag from the corner handles. This maintains the aspect ratio, keeping the height and width in perfect balance. If you need a specific size, for example, exactly 3 inches wide to fit a column, it is better to use the size group on the picture format ribbon rather than dragging manually. Cropping for focus. Sometimes, a photo contains too much background noise. You don't need to resize the whole image, you need to remove the clutter. This is where the crop tool becomes essential. Found on the Picture Format tab, the crop tool changes the sizing handles to black brackets. Dragging these brackets inward hides parts of the image without deleting them. It is like cutting a photo with scissors, except Word allows you to uncrop later if you change your mind. Figure, a split image showing the before state of a photo with excess background and the after state showing the same photo tightly cropped to focus on the subject. 7.2 Drawing and modifying shapes and smart art. Photos are excellent for showing reality, but sometimes you need to illustrate a concept. This is where shapes and smart art come into play. These are vector-based tools, meaning they stay crisp and sharp no matter how large you resize them. Working with basic shapes. Under Insert Shapes, you have access to lines, rectangles, arrows, and flowchart symbols. Drawing a shape is as simple as clicking your desired shape and clicking and dragging on the page. Once drawn, the shape is not set in stone. The yellow handle found on many shapes allows you to modify the geometry, for example, changing the curve of a rounded rectangle or the thickness of an arrow. You can also type text directly into any shape, turning simple boxes into buttons or labels instantly. Leveraging smart art. If you find yourself manually drawing 10 boxes and trying to connect them with lines to create an organizational chart, stop immediately. There is a better way. Smart art is one of Word's most underutilized features for business professionals. Smart art converts lists and processes into professional diagrams automatically. Whether you need a hierarchy, a cycle, or a pyramid, smart art provides a pre-built structure. The best part is the text pane. You type your bullet points into a simple list, and Word generates the graphical elements for you. Figure, a diagram demonstrating the conversion of a simple bulleted list, input, into a colorful smart art cycle diagram, output. 7.3 Controlling text wrapping and object positioning. This section addresses the most frustrating aspect of word processing for most learners, the floating image. You insert a picture, try to move it slightly to the right, and suddenly your paragraphs explode, jumping to the next page or disappearing entirely. This happens because of text wrapping. By default, Word treats an image as in line with text. This means the software thinks the image is just a giant letter "a". It sits on the text line and refuses to budge. Mastering the layout options. To free your image, select it and look for the small bridge icon that appears near the top right corner. This is the Layout Options menu. Changing the wrapping style unlocks the image from the text line. Here is a breakdown of the critical wrapping styles. Wrapping style behavior best use case. Once you switch to a floating style, like square or tight, you can drag the image anywhere. The text will flow around it like water around a rock. Anchoring. Figure, a visual guide comparing in line with text, image sitting on a line, versus square wrapping, text flowing around the image box. When an image floats, it is still logically attached to a specific paragraph. This connection is represented by a small anchor icon in the left margin, visible when formatting marks are on. If you move that paragraph to a new page, the image goes with it. Understanding anchors ensures your visuals stay relevant to the text they illustrate. 7.4 Grouping, layering, and aligning graphical elements. As your documents become more complex, you may start using multiple shapes and images together. Perhaps you are building a custom diagram using arrows and text boxes. Managing these individually can be tedious. Grouping objects. Imagine you have drawn a complex logo using 5 different shapes. If you try to move it, you might accidentally drag just one circle, leaving the rest behind. To prevent this, select all the shapes, hold the Shift key while clicking, right-click, and choose Group. Word now treats these 5 shapes as a single unit. You can resize, move, or apply effects to the entire group at once. If you need to edit a specific part later, you can simply ungroup them. Layering, Z-order. Visual objects in Word live in a stack, like papers on a desk. Newer objects sit on top of older ones. If your text box is hiding behind a photo, you need to adjust the layering. Use the Bring Forward or Send Backward commands on the Format tab. 4 complex pages with many overlapping items. Open the selection pane. This panel lists every object on the page and allows you to drag them up and down the stack order or hide them temporarily while you work. Figure, the selection pane interface showing a list of objects, picture 1, shape 2, text box 3, with eye icons to toggle visibility. Precise alignment. Finally, avoid the temptation to eyeball the position of your objects. Human eyes are not reliable for perfect alignment. If you want 3 photos to line up perfectly on the left, select them all and use the Align tool on the ribbon. Choose a line left to snap them to a straight line, and distribute vertically to ensure the spacing between them is mathematically identical. These small touches of precision distinguish a novice document from a certified professional's work.
Chapter 8: The Power of Mail Merge. Sections. Section 8.1: Understanding the main document and data source concept. Section 8.2: Creating and managing a recipient list. Section 8.3: Inserting merge fields and matching data. Section 8.4: Finalizing the merge for letters and labels. We have spent the last 7 chapters carefully crafting individual documents. You have learned to format text, structure paragraphs, organize tables, and design beautiful layouts. You now have the skills to create a single, perfect letter or a stunning report. But what happens when you need to send that perfect letter to 500 different people? If your instinct is to copy, paste, and retype names 500 times, stop immediately. In the professional world, time is our most finite resource. Typing the same document repeatedly is not just tedious, it is an open invitation for errors to creep in. Mail merge is the bridge between mass production and personal connection. It allows you to take one generic template and blend it with a list of data to create hundreds of unique documents instantly. It is arguably the most powerful productivity tool in your word processing arsenal. In this chapter, we will unlock the ability to be in many places at once. We will learn how to automate communication without losing that personal touch. 8.1: Understanding the main document and data source concept. To master mail merge, you must first understand that you are no longer working with just one file. You are acting as a conductor bringing 2 distinct instruments together. If you try to force them together without understanding their roles, the result is noise. Handled correctly, it is a symphony of efficiency. The first component is the main document. Think of this as a form letter with specific holes cut out of it. It contains the text, formatting, and graphics that remain the same for everyone: your logo, your body paragraphs, and your signature. The second component is the data source. This is strictly a container for information. It might be a spreadsheet, a database, or a contact list. It contains the variable information, names, addresses, and account numbers, arranged in rigid rows and columns. Figure, AI-generated diagram showing a main document on the left, a letter with blanks, and a data source on the right, a grid of names, addresses. Arrows from both point to a center gear icon labeled a mail merge, which outputs a stack of finished, personalized letters. When you run the merge, Word looks at the main document, reaches into the data source, grabs the information for the first person, and fills in the holes. Then, it repeats the process for the next person, and the next. You design the document once, and the software handles the repetition. 8.1.1: The role of fields. The holes in your main document are technically called merge fields. These are placeholders that tell the software exactly which column of data goes where. You aren't typing John Smith, you are placing a marker that says. This abstraction can feel strange at first because you cannot see the final result immediately. You have to trust the process. You are building a logic system, not just typing a page. 8.2: Creating and managing a recipient list. The quality of your mail merge depends entirely on the quality of your data. If your data source has a typo in a name, that typo will be replicated in the final letter. Therefore, we must approach the recipient list with the same discipline we applied to tables in Chapter 5. For the ICDL certification, you generally have 2 options: connecting to an existing list, like an Excel file, or creating a new list directly within Word. Creating a list inside Word is excellent for smaller batches or when you don't have an external database ready. 8.2.1 Typing a new list. When you choose to type a new list, Word presents you with a data entry form. This form looks like a digital address book. It comes preloaded with common headings like title, first name, last name, and address line 1. Figure, AI-generated screenshot of the new address list. A dialog box in Microsoft Word highlights the Customize Columns button and the data entry fields, with a cursor blinking in the first name field. You can customize these columns to fit your specific needs. If you are merging a list of students, you might not need company name, but you might need grade level. Always ensure your column headers clearly describe the data inside them. 8.2.2 Editing and refining data. Once your list is saved, it becomes a database file on your computer. You can return to it later to add new recipients, remove duplicates, or fix spelling errors. Keeping this list clean is vital. A Dear Mr. Smted letter does more harm than good to your professional reputation. 8.3 Inserting merge fields and matching data. Now that we have our main document, the template, and our data source, the list, it is time to link them. This is where the magic happens. We need to tell the document exactly where to put the information. Go to the Mailings tab. This ribbon is your control center for the entire process. Once you have selected your recipients, the buttons that were previously grayed out will suddenly burst into color, indicating they are ready for use. 8.3.1 Placing the fields. Place your cursor exactly where you want the variable data to appear. If you are writing a greeting, type Dear and add a space. Then, click Insert Merge field and select the relevant header, such as first name. Figure, AI-generated close-up view of a Word document. The cursor is positioned after a Dear. A drop-down menu labeled Insert Merge field is open, showing options like first name, last name, and city. On your screen, it will look like Dear. Those double arrows, chevrons, indicate that this is dynamic content. Do not try to type these chevrons manually, they must be inserted via the menu to function as a link. 8.3.2 Previewing results. Working with placeholders requires a bit of imagination, but you don't have to fly blind. The Preview Results button allows you to toggle between the code view, greater than signs, and the actual data, John. Use the arrow buttons next to the preview icon to cycle through a few recipients. Watch how the text adjusts. Does a long name push your paragraph to a new line? Does a missing address line leave an awkward gap? This is your quality control stage. 8. For finalizing the merge for letters and labels. The most common mistake new users make is hitting the standard print button while looking at the preview. If you do this, you will likely print only the one letter currently on your screen. To generate all the documents, you must complete the process properly. 8. For point 1 Finish and Merge. On the far right of the Mailings tab is the Finish and Merge button. This gives you 3 choices, but the most useful one for beginners is Edit Individual Documents. Selecting this option creates a brand new Word document containing every single letter, one after another. If you have 50 recipients, this new file will have 50 pages. This is your safety net. You can scroll through, check for errors, and make tiny manual adjustments to specific letters before sending them to the printer. 8. For point 2 Mastering labels. Labels often strike fear into the hearts of office workers, but they operate on the exact same logic as letters. The only difference is the layout. When you start a label merge, Word creates a table structure, recall Chapter 5, that matches the dimensions of your sticky labels. Figure, AI-generated visual of a sheet of address labels in Word. The first label contains furious smiley hand. The critical step for labels is the Update Labels button. After you set up the first label with your merge fields, you must click this button to replicate that setup across every other label on the sheet. Without this click, you will print one label and 30 blank stickers. You have now moved beyond simple document creation into the realm of document automation. You are no longer just a typist, you are a manager of data and design. This efficiency will buy you the time to focus on what truly matters, the content of your message.
Chapter 9, Final Polish and Output Management. Sections. Section 9.1, Running Spell Check and Grammar Validation Tools. Section 9.2, Using the Thesaurus and Word Count Features. Section 9.3, Previewing the document to prevent printing errors. Section 9.4, Printing options and exporting to PDF format. In Chapter 8, we scaled the mountain of efficiency by mastering mail merge, learning to generate hundreds of documents in moments. That was the height of our production phase. Now, as we approach the end of our journey, we must slow down. We shift our focus from quantity back to quality. Imagine a carpenter building a fine cabinet. They have cut the wood, assembled the frame, and installed the hardware. But before they can sell it, they must sand the rough edges and apply the varnish. Without this final finish, the structural integrity remains, but the professional value is diminished. Chapter 9 is your sanding and varnishing phase. We will explore the tools that protect your reputation, the spell checker that catches embarrassing slips, the thesaurus that sharpens your vocabulary, and the preview tools that save you from wasting paper. Finally, we will lock your work into a permanent format for distribution. This is the difference between a draft and a deliverable. Let's polish your work until it shines. 9.1 Running Spell Check and Grammar Validation Tools. Nothing undermines a professional document faster than a typo. You might have the most compelling data or the most persuasive argument, but if you misspell receive or misuse an apostrophe, the reader's focus snaps instantly to the error. It implies a lack of attention to detail that can hurt your credibility. Word processing software includes a powerful automated editor, often called editor or spelling and grammar, that acts as your first line of defense. It scans your text against a massive dictionary and a complex set of grammatical rules. However, it is vital to remember that this tool is an assistant, not the author. To activate this review process, navigate to the Review tab on the ribbon and select Spelling and Grammar, or Editor in newer versions. Alternatively, the F7 key is the universal keyboard shortcut for this function, a favorite trick for ICDL exam candidates to memorize. Figure, AI-generated diagram showing the editor pane on the right side of the screen. It highlights distinct categories for spelling, red icon, and grammar, blue icon, with a specific example of a misspelled word highlighted in the text body. When the tool flags an error, you are generally presented with three choices. 1. Ignore once all, useful for proper names or technical jargon the dictionary doesn't recognize. 2. Add to dictionary. If you use a specific company name or acronym frequently, adding it stops the software from flagging it in the future. 3. Change, accepting the software's suggestion to correct the error. Be cautious with the change all feature. While it saves time, it can be dangerous if the software misinterprets a word's context. Always review each instance unless you are absolutely certain. Finally, remember that spell checkers cannot read your mind. If you type trail instead of trial, both are correctly spelled words. The software may not flag this, yet the meaning of your sentence will be wrong. Human eyes are still the ultimate validation tool. 9.2 Using the thesaurus and word count features. Once your document is free of errors, the next step is refinement. Sometimes the first word that comes to mind isn't the most precise one. You might find yourself using the word good 3 times in one paragraph. This serves the purpose, but it lacks professional impact. The built-in thesaurus allows you to swap repetitive or weak words for stronger alternatives without leaving your document. You can access this via the Review tab, or simply by right-clicking a word and hovering over synonyms. Figure, AI-generated diagram showing a context menu after right-clicking the word Enhance. The Synonyms submenu is expanded, showing options like Improve, Boost, and Augment. Use this power wisely. The goal is clarity, not complexity. Replacing use with utilize is often unnecessary, but replacing said with argued or whispered adds valuable context. Choose words that clarify your meaning rather than those that simply make the sentence longer. Speaking of length, constraints are common in the professional world. You may need to write a 500-word abstract or keep a report under 2 pages. The word count tool provides these metrics instantly. You can find the word count in the status bar at the bottom left of your window. Clicking it opens a detailed dialog box showing statistics for pages, words, characters, with and without spaces, paragraphs, and lines. Figure, AI-generated diagram displaying the word count dialog box. The box lists metrics, pages, 2, words, 450, characters, no spaces 2300. A checkbox for include text boxes, footnotes, and endnotes is checked. For the ICDL certification, pay attention to whether you are asked to select a specific paragraph before checking the count. The tool updates dynamically. If you highlight a specific section, it will count only the words in that selection. 9.3 Previewing the document to prevent printing errors. We live in a what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG, era, but the screen can still be deceiving. A document that looks perfect in the editing window might have awkward page breaks or cut-off margins when sent to a physical printer. Before you commit to ink and paper, you must use the print preview feature. This mode simulates exactly how the data will be placed on the physical sheet. It is your opportunity to catch orphans, a single line of a paragraph left alone at the bottom of a page, or tables that split confusingly across 2 pages. To access this, go to File Print. The right side of the screen usually transforms into a non-editable preview of your document. Figure, AI-generated diagram showing the backstage view, File Print. On the left are print settings, on the right is a full-page view of a document. A magnifying glass icon is visible to zoom in on details. Use the zoom controls or the page navigation arrows at the bottom to flip through the entire document. Look specifically at the bottom of each page. Does a heading appear at the very bottom with its text starting on the next page? This is the time to insert a manual page break, Ctrl+Enter, to fix the flow. Skipping this step is the primary cause of wasted paper in offices. Taking 10 seconds to preview can save you the frustration of reprinting a 50-page report because the page numbers were cut off by the printer's margins. 9.4 Printing options and exporting to PDF format. Once your document is polished and previewed, it is time for output. While digital sharing is standard, the ability to control physical printing and static digital formats is a requirement for administrative competence. In the File Print menu, you have granular control over the output. You are rarely required to just hit print and hope for the best. You can choose to print the current page only, a custom range, e.g., pages 3 to 5, 8, or the entire document. Figure, AI-generated diagram illustrating the print settings panel. Callouts highlight the print one-sided drop-down menu changing to print on both sides and the copies counter set to 3. Professional responsibility also involves sustainability. Whenever possible, utilize the duplex, print on both sides, feature to halve your paper consumption. For draft copies, consider printing 2 pages per sheet to further reduce waste. However, printing to paper is not the only final output. Often, you need to email a document to a client who might not have the same fonts installed or uses a different word processor. Sending an editable file can lead to formatting disasters where your carefully aligned images jump around the page. The solution is the PDF, portable document format. A PDF freezes your document exactly as you designed it, like taking a digital photograph of the page. It ensures that what you see is exactly what the recipient sees, regardless of their device. To create a PDF, you generally use File Export, Create PDF XPS or File Save As and select PDF from the file type drop-down list. In the context of your ICDL exam and your career, knowing when to send an editable file, for collaboration, and when to send a PDF, for final delivery, is a mark of digital literacy. It shows you understand not just how to create content, but how to manage its life cycle.
Chapter 10, Certification Readiness and Review. Sections. Section 10.1, Recap of Key ICDL Syllabus Objectives. Section 10.2, Completing a Comprehensive Practice Scenario. Section 10.3, Avoiding Common Pitfalls During the Exam. Section 10.4 Final Preparation Tips for Test Day Confidence. We have arrived at a pivotal moment in your journey. Over the last 9 chapters, we built a skyscraper of knowledge from the ground up, starting with basic text entry and rising to the heights of mail merge and output management. Now, you possess all the technical skills required for the ICDL word processing exam. However, knowing how to use a hammer is different from building a house under a time limit. The certification exam does not just test your memory, it tests your ability to apply tools efficiently under pressure. It requires a shift in mindset from learning mode to performance mode. Think of this chapter as your dress rehearsal. We will not be learning new buttons or menus here. Instead, we are gathering everything you know, organizing it mentally, and practicing the workflow you will use on test day. We will sharpen your reflexes so that when the clock starts ticking, your hands know exactly what to do. 10.1 Recap of key ICDL syllabus objectives. The ICDL syllabus is vast, but it is not random. It follows a logical life cycle of a document. Understanding this flow helps you predict what the exam might ask. You can categorize almost every exam question into one of 4 distinct buckets. The environment and basics. This covers the fundamental operations we discussed in the early chapters. The exam expects you to manage files flawlessly, saving in specific formats, like .docx or .pdf, creating new documents based on templates, and adjusting the ribbon or view settings. If you cannot open or save the file correctly, the brilliance of your content does not matter. Formatting and layout. This is the look and feel of your document. You must demonstrate mastery over character formatting, bold, italics, fonts, and paragraph formatting, indents, spacing, borders. Remember the lessons from Chapter 6 regarding page layout. You will likely be asked to change margins, orientation, or paper size. Objects and tables. Data presentation is a major component of the certification. You need to be comfortable inserting images, resizing them without distortion, and wrapping text around them. Tables are equally critical. Be prepared to modify cell shading, align text within cells, and manage row heights as we practiced in Chapter 5. Advanced tasks and output. Finally, the exam tests efficiency. This includes the mail merge process from Chapter 8 and the final Polish tools from Chapter 9, such as spell check and print preparation. You may be asked to merge a letter with a specific address list or change print settings to print only specific pages. Figure, AI-generated diagram showing a knowledge pyramid. The base is labeled File Management, the middle layer is Formatting and Objects, and the peak is Mail Merge and Output. Arrows connect the layers to show the workflow. 10.2 Completing a comprehensive practice scenario. The best way to prepare is to simulate a real task. We are going to walk through a mini-exam scenario. Read through this workflow and imagine yourself performing the clicks. Better yet, open a blank document and try to follow along. Scenario: you are an administrator at Summit Conferences. You need to finalize a 1-page informational flyer about an upcoming leadership seminar. Step 1. Set up and text entry. Open your word processor and type a title, Leadership Summit 2024. Below that, type 2 paragraphs of placeholder text describing the event. Immediately save the document to your Documents folder with the name Summit Flyer Final.docx. Step 2. Structural formatting. Select the title text. Do not use manual font sizing, instead, apply the title style from the Styles gallery. This ensures consistency. Select the 2 body paragraphs and change the alignment to Justify to give the text clean edges on both sides. Step 3. Organizing data. Insert a table with 3 columns and 4 rows below the text. In the top row, type the headers, time, session, and speaker. Shade this top row with a light gray background and make the text bold. This visual distinction helps the reader navigate the data instantly. Figure, AI-generated visual showing a document screen split in half. The left side shows raw, unformatted text. The right side shows the text with a title style applied and a table with a shaded header row. Step 4. Visual Polish. Insert a picture of a conference room or a generic logo at the top of the document. Resize the image so it is roughly 5 centimeters, or 2 inches, wide. Change the text wrapping to square and move the image to the top right corner, aligned with the title. Step 5. Final check. Run the spell checker. Assume it flags the word summit. Since this is correct, choose Ignore All. Finally, verify your print settings. Set the document to print 1 copy on A4 paper size. Save your work and close the application. If you could visualize or perform those steps smoothly, you are in excellent shape. 10.3 Avoiding common pitfalls during the exam. Even prepared candidates can lose points due to simple misunderstandings. The automated marking system used in exams is precise, but it can also be rigid. It does not judge your creative intent, it checks if specific criteria were met. The Select All trap. When asked to format a paragraph, be careful with your selection. If the instructions say apply a border to the first paragraph, ensure you have selected only that paragraph. If you accidentally select an extra blank line below it, the border might apply to the empty space as well, marking the question incorrect. Manual versus automatic. If the exam asks you to insert a page break, do not press the Enter key repeatedly until the cursor moves to the next page. It looks the same visually, but the software sees a string of paragraph marks, not a page break character. Always use the proper tool and insert page break. Overthinking the instruction. Read the question exactly as it is written. If the instruction says, change the font color to red, choose the standard red. Do not spend time looking for dark red or crimson because it looks nicer. In a certification context, aesthetic preference takes a backseat to literal compliance. Figure, AI-generated illustration of a caution sign. Next to it, a checklist. 1. Don't guess colors. 2. Don't use the Enter key for spacing. 3. Save often. 10 point for final preparation tips for test day confidence. Anxiety is often the biggest obstacle on exam day. You know the material, but nerves can make you forget where the Save As button is. Preparation is the antidote to panic. Before the exam, arrive early. Rushing raises your heart rate and clouds your thinking. Ensure you have your ID and any required login details. When you sit at the computer, take a moment to adjust your chair and the monitor. If you are physically uncomfortable, you will be distracted. During the exam, read every question twice before touching the mouse. The first read gives you the general idea, the second read highlights the specific details, like specific measurements or file names. If you get stuck on a difficult question, flag it if the system allows, and move on. Solving 3 easy questions is better than struggling with one hard one for 10 minutes. The reset button. If you realize you have clicked the wrong buttons and the document looks messy, use the undo button, Ctrl+Z, to step back. It is better to undo your mistake and start that specific task again than to try and fix a formatting disaster manually. Trust in the practice you have put in. You have mastered tables, tamed mail merges, and polished your layouts. You have the skills. Now, take a deep breath, read the screen, and let your training take over. Like, subscribe, and share end screen for Ahmed Khorshid YouTube educational videos.